Why you must fail to win. A Stoic truth. Everyone wants to win, to be seen, admired, respected, to rise above the noise and prove, I made it. But no one wants to fail. No one wants to stumble, to be misunderstood, to fall short. We treat failure like an enemy, something to avoid, something to be ashamed of. But what if we've misunderstood failure all along? What if failure is the very path to victory? The Stoics understood this. They didn't measure life by outcomes but by character. They didn't fear defeat because they knew every fall is a step forward if you rise with wisdom. This video isn't about quick hacks or empty motivation. It's about something deeper. It's about learning how to endure, how to be consistent, and how through failure we win, not by the world's standards, but by the Stoics. Let's begin. What is Stoic consistency? Constantia. In Stoicism, there's a word the modern world has forgotten, constantia. It doesn't mean repetition. It doesn't mean boring discipline. It means moral steadfastness. It is the inner posture of a person who chooses to remain grounded when everything else is shaking. It is the courage to show up with your values intact, no matter the storm, no matter the audience. The Stoics believed that consistency wasn't about being flawless. It was about being faithful to your principles, to your nature, to the path you've chosen. Seneca, one of the great Stoic voices, said, "It is not that we are given a short life, but we make it short by wasting time." Time is wasted in indecision, in inconsistency, in constantly restarting the same race, hoping for a shortcut. Constantia is what brings strength to stillness. It's what transforms daily repetition into spiritual weightlifting. Every action builds character. Every morning you journal, train, reflect. You're shaping who you are becoming. And when you slip, you return. You don't need motivation. You don't need applause. You only need the quiet voice within you that says, begin again. Because greatness isn't found in grand achievements. It's found in the man who shows up, who endures, who persists, even when no one is watching. That's Stoic consistency. That's constantia. We've been told that failure is the end, that when you fall, you've lost, that mistakes define you. But the Stoics saw it differently. To them, failure wasn't final, it was formative. Epictetus said, difficulties are things that show a person who they are. We don't really meet ourselves in comfort. We meet ourselves in trial. When everything goes wrong, that's when we see what's real. Failure is feedback. It's a mirror held up to our ego, our preparation, our resilience. The Stoic doesn't fear failure because he expects it. He trains for it. He understands that failure is simply part of a deeper process. Because what looks like failure on the outside is refinement on the inside. It's how iron becomes a blade, how fire hardens clay, how we become who we're meant to be. It's easy to perform when things go right. But what about when they don't? When the plan collapses? When the audience disappears? When you try and try again, and nothing seems to work? That's the test. That's the forge. The Stoics didn't ask, how do I avoid failure? They asked, how do I respond when it happens? The answer, calmly, deliberately, consistently. Not with shame, not with retreat, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows every step back, if you stay the course, is part of moving forward. This isn't losing. This is the work. You've heard the phrase, the obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. But what does it mean? It means the thing you're avoiding is exactly where you should go. The pain, the failure, the delay, those aren't detours. They are the path. Marcus Aurelius also said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, what blocks you builds you. We spend so much energy resisting obstacles, wishing they weren't there, blaming life for being unfair. But the Stoics would say, life isn't unfair. Life is just training. The tree in your path, climb it. The failure that humiliated you, learn from it. The delay that frustrated you, use it to sharpen your patience. That's how the Stoic moves forward, by moving through. They don't wait for the road to clear. They take the road as it is. They accept what they cannot control, and then they ask, what can I do with this? Because everything, every hardship, every loss, every rejection can be fuel. The Stoic knows a challenge is not a stop sign, it's a doorway, and behind that doorway is growth. So the next time something blocks your way, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Because the obstacle isn't just in the way, it is the way. We live in a world that moves fast, too fast. Scroll, click, like, repeat. Attention spans shrink ever. Everyone wants instant results. We're told success is speed. How quickly you can go viral, level up, cash in, or blow up. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. The Stoic isn't in a hurry because truth doesn't expire, and character isn't built in a sprint. Consistency is rebellion. While the world sprints, the Stoic walks. While the world panics, the Stoic pauses. While the world chases applause, the Stoic chases alignment. It's not flashy, it doesn't trend, but it lasts. Ryan Holiday said, "Greatness isn't what you do occasionally, it's what you do consistently." And that consistency isn't made of grand gestures. It's made of quiet, disciplined action, showing up every day, especially when no one is watching. The Stoic knows a slow step forward is better than a sprint in the wrong direction. You don't need to win today, you just need to continue. Keep the routine, keep the discipline, keep your values intact, even when no one claps for them. That's consistency, that's constantia, and that's where peace begins. Because you're not performing for the world anymore. You're becoming who you were meant to be, quietly, daily, unshaken. Consistency isn't just an idea, it's a rhythm, a way of living. The Stoics didn't just preach virtue, they practiced it every single day. So how do you build that kind of steady power? Start small, start with habits. Marcus Aurelius journaled each morning, not for others, but to remind himself of what mattered. His meditations weren't meant to be published. They were reminders to stay calm, to act justly, to control what could be controlled. You can do the same. Start your day with a journal. Ask, what will I face today? How will I respond? What virtues will I need to practice? End your day with reflection. Ask, what did I do well? Where did I fall short? What will I improve tomorrow? Take cold showers. Train your body. Practice stillness. Say no to distractions. Do one uncomfortable thing daily, on purpose. It doesn't need to be heroic. It just needs to be consistent. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of what stops us is fear. Fear of discomfort, fear of looking foolish, fear of failure. Stoic habits teach us to lean into that fear, gently, daily, until it loses its grip. Over time, those small acts become your identity. You are what you repeatedly do, not what you say, not what you dream, but what you return to day after day. That's Stoic practice, and that's how consistency is formed, and eventually, that's how transformation begins. There will be days you want to quit, when everything feels heavy, when progress is invisible, when the silence of your efforts is louder than any praise. On those days, the voice will whisper, "Why keep going? It doesn't matter. You're not getting anywhere." But here's what the Stoics knew. That voice isn't the truth, it's the test. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Not because you should suffer endlessly, but because endurance reveals strength you didn't know you had. Quitting is tempting because it promises relief, but it also robs you of growth, of clarity, of discovering who you really are when things get hard. The Stoic doesn't push blindly. They pause, they breathe, they recenter, and then they continue, even if it's slow, even if it's imperfect, even if no one claps, because what matters is not how fast you go, but that you don't turn away. In a world that starts things and never finishes them, consistency is a form of rebellion. Even when motivation is gone, even when doubt creeps in, you return, not because it's easy, but because it's right. So when you feel like quitting, don't. Rest if you must. Reflect if you need. But keep walking. Because every step forward, no matter how small, is proof that you are not the same person who once gave up. And this time, You won't. What if everything you've been taught about success is wrong? What if it's not about reaching the top, but about standing tall when everything around you crumbles? What if it's not about applause, but about peace? The world says you are successful when you're seen, when you're followed, when you're paid. But the Stoics say you are successful when you are free. Free from the opinions of others. Free from the need to prove. Free from the fear of falling. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery, not in battle, but in showing up without recognition. Bravery in living according to your values, even when it costs you. Success to the Stoic is not a destination, it's a state of being. Did you do what you believed was right? Did you act with courage, with temperance, with wisdom? Then you have already won. Even if no one notices, even if you never get the trophy, even if it looks like failure from the outside, because the man who knows who he is and lives by it is untouchable. Success is found in moments. The moment you resist the urge to react in anger, the moment you choose silence over gossip, the moment you keep your promise to yourself when no one's looking. Those are victories. And when they are repeated with intention and consistency, they become a life, not loud, but full, not perfect, but principled, not for the world, but for yourself. You will fail, you will fall, you will be tested. That is not a threat, it's a promise, it's life. But here's another truth. You can rise, and not just once, but every single time. Because what defines you isn't whether you fall, it's what you do next. The Stoic doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They don't need motivation. They don't need applause. They act, despite fear, despite fatigue, despite the unknown. They wake up, they return, they begin again. That is your power too. Today, you don't need to fix everything. You just need to do one thing with intention, one act aligned with your principles, one step forward, no matter how small. Start the journal, take the walk, delete the distraction, hold your tongue, speak the truth, then tomorrow do it again. Not for recognition, not for perfection, but because it's who you are choosing to become. That's Stoicism in motion, a quiet revolution, one choice at a time, no grand speech, no crowd, just you, facing yourself, refining the soul. So, will you take that step? Not someday, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready. Now, because that's what it means to live with constantia, to rise every time life asks the question, are you ready to act? And your answer, yes, even now, especially now. You made it to the end, but this isn't the end. It's the next beginning. The truth is, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to show up today, then tomorrow, then again. That's Stoicism, not a philosophy for the classroom, but for the real world, for people like you and me, trying, failing, rising. The world will pull you in 1,000 directions, but if you can stay centered, consistent, calm, you will move through life, not untouched by pain, but undefeated by it. So if this message spoke to something inside you, don't just watch, reflect, act, and share it with someone walking their own path in silence. Because the journey isn't meant to be easy, but you don't have to walk it alone. Let's keep walking together.